Hi folks, I'm your host, the J-Man, and I'm here to do another comic book review for you. And this one is called Superman Doomsday, The Aftermath. Trade paperback. There you go. Okay, so yeah, this one, if you've been following my reviews, this is the fourth book I'm doing on Superman, and they all tie in together, and I did them in sequence, and yeah, if you're reading all four of them, this is the order you should be reading them, and the fourth one right here is the final, because it explains the origin of Doomsday and everything that happens in these books, other than the origin of Doomsday, happened previously to the return of Superman, which was my previous review. So, yeah, Superman and Doomsday fought in Metropolis, and basically Superman gave everything he had. He had never been physically challenged so hard, and he fought to the very end. It took every ounce of his life energy to put Doomsday down. Now, Superman died, and yes, he was able to be reborn, or return to life, basically. But Doomsday, you know, everyone pretty much thought he was dead. Of course, Superman, you know, was worried about it, but, you know, quite some time went on before Doomsday would ever appear again. The fans started demanding, like, you know, an explanation. Who's Doomsday? Where did he come from? Why did he try and kill Superman? So Dan Jurgens, who wrote a lot of the Death of Superman story, took it upon himself to write the follow-up, which would do that. And the follow-up is called Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey, also known as Superman Doomsday Round 2. That was written in 1994, just 1 year after the return of Superman. And, you know, what else am I going to say? Okay, before that, fans were comparing and contrasting Doomsday with Darkseid. And, you know, they're both big, bulky guys. They both have gray skin. They're both extremely powerful. You know, maybe they're related. Maybe Darkseid created Doomsday, but that is not the case. We find out in this book, which also, on this story, which also ties in Darkseid very well. So, yeah, and if you ever wondered, you know, who's more powerful, Doomsday or Darkseid, you definitely get the answer to that in this story. Tremendous artwork in this book. I have to show you a few things here. Okay, first of all, you see Clark Kent as a little boy. I don't know, it looks like maybe, I'm going to guess, between 6 and 8 years old. You don't get to see that too often, in my opinion. So there he is on the right, and his mother there, Martha Kent. And the whole thing is that Superman's talking about fear, and how when he was a little boy he was afraid of the basement because it was so dark, but his mother's love motivated him to overcome. And, you know, now he's an adult and he's still having fear. He's still having nightmares of Doomsday. As you can see, he wakes up here in the middle of the night after having a nightmare about Doomsday. So yeah, he has a nightmare about Doomsday, where Doomsday is basically killing him again. You get this wonderful splash page. Okay, so he was talking about how his mother's love gave him the strength to overcome fear, to overcome his fears. And at the end of the story, we get this wonderful, like, full circle where he talks about how the love of Lois Lane is what he lives for, is what it's all about. The day-to-day moments, you know. Yeah, so Lois Lane is a part of the story. Have you ever wondered, like, you know, why would Superman ever fight Doomsday again? Wouldn't Lois Lane be totally against that? And would he try to keep it a secret from her? Well, he doesn't keep it a secret from her. She begs him not to fight him, but, you know, he says he has to. You get this fantastic artwork, except, you know, kind of silly. I don't know why he's flexing his bicep in this picture. Lois Lane, she looks, you know, looks really good with short hair. Okay, so Doomsday makes his way to Apokolips and starts killing people. Basically, they picked up the meteorite that Doomsday was attached to. If you remember, if you're reading Return of Superman, Cyborg Superman takes the body of Doomsday, straps it to a giant meteorite, and sends it off. Sends it off into outer space. And then, what we don't know is that Cyborg Superman, aka Hank Henshaw, attached himself to that meteorite, or to Doomsday. So when Doomsday wakes up on planet Apokolips, that also activates the cyborg, Hank Henshaw, who possesses one of the guards of Apokolips. So there, Doomsday encounters Darkseid, and they fight. I'm not going to tell you what happens, though. And, you know, it's really cool. And you get the return of the cyborg here. He takes on this body, which is red this time. And then, you know, Superman finally comes back, and he goes after Doomsday, but Doomsday gets teleported. So then he goes and he fights the cyborg and kicks his butt, and then Darkseid defeats the cyborg and reclaims his planet. But where Superman thinks that Doomsday pretty much killed Cyborg, Darkseid hides the fact that he actually put Cyborg inside of this little orb, and that becomes important later on in other stories not related to Doomsday. But, you know, just so you know, Cyborg Superman lives again. Also, Superman encounters Maxima of the JLA. If you remember Maxima, she was a part of the Death of Superman story where Superman fought Doomsday. She actually helped Superman fight Doomsday. And here she is again. Also, on a side note, she has like a crush on Superman. But that doesn't come out in this book, or in this story. Wonderful, wonderful picture of Darkseid here. I love the artwork in this book so much by Brett Breeding, story by Dan Jurgens, 1994. So you get the origin story of Doomsday, and the way that's explained is basically Wave Rider, who is also part of Death of Superman story. Wave Rider, who's basically one of the guys that control time, and he's like sworn not to interfere with the flow of time. That's why he didn't save Superman's life the first time. This time he helps out Superman, gives him advice, and it's kind of there for the whole fight or rematch between Superman and Doomsday. And he's able to tell Superman of the origin story of Doomsday, which is very lengthy. It's not really complicated. How should I say this? Very science-based. I don't want to give away too much. It's all about evolution and the survival of the fittest. If you take that science theory and you ramp it up to the extreme and really stretch it, this is the absolute probably limits of what evolution can do. And basically Doomsday is the ultimate form of evolution. We get this. We also find out that Doomsday was raised on Krypton. He was once a human child. So he evolved into this giant monster and killed everything on the planet thousands and thousands of years ago. And so basically, he doesn't need to eat or breathe because he has no lungs, no vital organs. Yeah, and that's pretty far-fetched and hard to believe, but okay, I guess. You know, it's like, why didn't he didn't develop the ability to fly? That's one of the few things he didn't develop. But yeah, this took place. His evolution took place over 30 years, and then he was defeated and sent back to Earth. So it explains that really well. It's all wrapped up into a nice package. And then Superman goes after Doomsday. After bringing, after a brief talk with Darkseid, and Darkseid basically agrees to let Superman fight Doomsday alone, and which I thought was kind of inconvenient. I was like, Superman should really get Darkseid's help in fighting Doomsday, but no, and Superman gets his butt kicked by Doomsday. Gorgeous splash page. Superman has this weird costume on that kind of makes him look like Gambit, and he's got a sword which he uses against Doomsday, and you know, it's like an energy sword. But he still gets his butt kicked, and he even uses some type of gun against Doomsday. None of it works very well. And we are told that Doomsday basically can adapt to any situation, so anything you use against him will pretty much only hurt him the first time. So yeah, there's no possible way of defeating Doomsday. I mean, he's just physically unbeatable, and Superman's almost dead here, and Wave Rider's watching the whole thing. And Wave Rider, basically his bracelet, which controls time, is broken off of him, and Superman uses that to teleport the three of them to this alternate dimension sort of thing, which is basically the end of time, and they trap Doomsday there. So there, he's stuck in the end of time, which will eventually evaporate him. And Superman returns home and says, "Thank you, Wave Rider, for helping me," and gives Lois a nice kiss. And that's the end of the story. That's Superman, Doomsday, Hunter Prey, also known as Hunter Prey Round 2. So, there you have it. Love the artwork. Lots of physicality. Many great questions answered. If you're a fan of Superman, fan of Darkseid or Doomsday, this is a must-read. Definitely pick this up. So important to the history of Superman. And there you have it. That will conclude my review. I'm going to give this one... I'm going to give this story a 9 out of 10. I like it that much. 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching, as always, and see you next time.